gunmen who tried to assassinate her for being an outspoken supporter of education for girls. She was 15 years old. During this next event, hosted by Politics and Prose Bookstore, Ms. Yousafzai was interviewed along with her father by Michel Martin of NPR. This is about an hour.
By her father, Ziauddin, and Michel Martin to civil.
This is breaking the Quaker tradition in respect for silence, but I want to start by quoting a very smart journalist friend of mine, Anand Giridharadas, who said that in this country we have it all wrong. We stand up for judges, but we sit for teachers. Let me say that again. We stand up for judges, but we sit for teachers. So I'd like to, and if you think about it, if they do their jobs properly, it's less likely that we will need those judges, correct? So if you don't mind, Ziauddin, and I include you in this, if you don't mind, I would ask if the educators here would stand so that we may honor you properly for the work that you do. Yes. And Tom, I want to be sure you were properly recognized. The head of school here, the head of my children's school is here, along with two of her colleagues, Karen, Erin, and Monet. I don't know why you're hiding, but we're glad you're here. So that being said, welcome to you both. We are so very happy to see you.
Thank you so much.
And you are probably very happy to be seen, right? I cannot forget that it was a year ago this week that these terrible events occurred. It seems like a long time ago, does it not? Or does it?
I don't feel really that something has happened to me. When I think of Malala, in my mind there are some pictures in which a girl is lying on a stretcher and her forehead is bleeding, her ear is bleeding. I don't think that's me, because I am feeling that I'm just a normal girl, and I'm feeling now really powerful and courageous, because after that incident, the prayers of people and the good wishes of people and the cards and the teddy bears that people have sent me, and their prayers that had made me more powerful. So I'm really happy now, and I don't feel like as if I was shot once.
One of the things that I learned from your book, which is wonderful, by the way, if I may recommend it, is that this is really a family story. This is a story and a sacrifice that was made by all of you in the family. So, Malala, I'm going to start by asking you, what do you most admire about your father?
First of all, I'm thankful to him because he and my mother gave me birth, and he's a great father, and I am inspired by him because the work he was doing at that time when terrorism was spreading in Swat, at that time it was not easy to speak. The people who spoke were slaughtered on the next day. The people who raised their voice were flogged on the next day. More than 400 schools were blasted. It was really hard to speak at that time, and my father did. And I got inspired by him, and that's why I said that I will also speak up for my rights, and I'll also speak up for the rights of every girl to get education and to go to school.
Ziauddin, what do you most admire about Malala?
It's a difficult question.
Thank you very much.
I think Malala is an average girl, but there are something which is extraordinary about her. She never agrees with me. And she always jokes, and she's very humorous. Now a bit tired and serious, I don't know why, because she worked, she had so many meetings all this day. One special quality which she has that she doesn't commit a mistake again. I mean, if she has made any mistake in life, that is for once. So she doesn't repeat her mistakes. And she's very respectful to her teachers, to her elders, quarrel with brothers. And she's a good girl. I love her.
Thank you.
I do want to ask you, Ziauddin, what it does start with you. As Alyssa mentioned, you ran a girls' school in Pakistan that Malala you attended, and I have to ask, what gave you this passion for girls' education? Because I think that it's one thing when you are the person who is on the bottom to want to rise, but it's another when you are on the top and to want to share the privileges that you had as a man and as the head of a household. So where did you get your passion for girls' education?
Basically, I was born in a society where girls are ignored. I mean, not only in our society, in all developing and poor countries, even in developed countries, women are not given that status which men have since centuries. Right from the very beginning, I was very sensitive to this kind of discrimination. And I was born in the house of a cleric. My father was a Maulana. He used to lead prayers in the mosque. He was a great speaker. But he was broad-minded. And he was very progressive as well. And he also taught me many things. And I learned from him so many things. But in the same home, I had 5 sisters, and none of them got education. And till my high school, I could not see any girl in my school, in my classroom. So you can imagine that girls' education was not at all there. I mean, so in such a society or in such a situation, I was very sensitive to all this discrimination, especially towards girls. For example, in the morning time when I was used to entertain with the milk and cream, and my sisters were given only tea. So I used to take that, but I felt that this kind of discrimination. Later on, when I got mature, so I became more sensitive to all these discriminations. And when she was born, and I became very much sensitive towards girls, towards women discrimination. And I wrote poems about them, that boys and girls, women and men, they are equal. And I think that this simple biological difference between the men and women should not be the base of the political and social discrimination. So that's kind of thinking which made a difference. And I usually tell people, I'm asked often that, what special training have you given to your daughter? So I usually tell people that you should not ask me what I have done. Rather, you ask me what I did not do, which is usually done by parents. I did not clip her wings to fly. I did not stop her from flying. And all girls like her, they are meant for stars. They can fly. And I always give a message to the parents all around the world where girls are suffering, that trust your daughters. They are faithful. Honor your daughters. They are honorable. And educate your daughters. They are amazing.
Malala, one of the things that I have heard you say, which has not gotten a lot of attention, in fact, you said this at the United Nations when you spoke there earlier this year, is that you are not just fighting for the rights of girls to get education, you are also fighting for the rights of boys to get education, including the children of the terrorists. And I'd like to ask you to tell us more about that. Why do you feel that way?
There has been a discrimination in our society, and men have been doing this for centuries. But this time, we women are going to bring change. We are speaking up for girls' rights, but we must not behave like men. We must not behave like they have done in the past. We must believe in equality, and we must take each decision with justice. So that's why we not only speak about girls' rights, but we also speak about boys' rights. Because in many countries, they cannot go to school because of child labor. They have to earn for their families. Their only job is to earn. So I think we also need to speak up for them. Because tomorrow, maybe girls will be going to school, but there will be so many boys who will be out of school. So if we want to bring a change, then we must do it with justice.
Ziauddin, one of the other things that I learned from your book, which I'm not sure that everyone fully understands, is that your family was under threat for a very long time. This is not something that just happened overnight. This is not something that happened in a day or a week. It was really years that you feared for your safety and for your family's safety, that you were being threatened for a very, very long time. And I think a lot of people would be interested to know how you sustained yourself through that period. How did you keep going?
Yes, of course. I was on Taliban's radar for the long times, for the last 3-4 years, I can say. Because this was not only me, because in Swat, in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa especially, hundreds of opinion leaders, hundreds of elders, notables have been killed. They have been assassinated. And I was one of them. And I took care in my own way, but I didn't have any security. But one has to live. I mean, there is no option. When she was targeted just 10 months before, when she got fame that very year in 2012, after her fame, she was, they issued a warning that as she is speaking against us, and we will not tolerate it, and we will kill her. Not only her, but they also included one other social activist. May she live long, she's still alive. And they came off. But we thought that even terrorists might have some ethics, because they destroyed some 1,500 schools, but they never injured a child. And she was a child. And we thought it was our, misunderstanding that they will not come for a child. So I was, the would-be target, not her. But since, 1 year, we were thinking about this too, that she may be targeted. But there was no option. We had to live in that valley. And we had to fight for our rights.
Well, but some people could have said, well, it's just too dangerous. I could close the school. I mean, some of the fascinating details were at the time when, for example, you took the girls on a field trip. Do you remember, to the mountains?
Yeah, exactly.
Just to see the river.
Exactly.
And that you got a nasty letter saying, what is this with taking these girls? You're doing immoral, improper things. And you took them to see, you said, you have the right to see the water and the mountains just like the boys do. Did you ever think, maybe I should close my school? Maybe it's too hard.
I think this kind of fundamentalism or radicalization came in the past 4 or 5 years. In Swat, we had a very peaceful, a society which had a great harmony and diversity. And we have a famous verse in our language, which I'll speak in Pashto, Yarmi Hindus and Musalmanim, Dayar da para dharmasal jaru kauma. It's in the book. It means that my friend is a Hindu and I am a Muslim, and to love and to respect my Hindu friend, I sweep in the temple. It was the kind of love it was interfaith harmony. All this happened after the Cold War, when Soviet Union attacked Afghanistan and our establishment and your country's establishment waged a war against the Swat. So, I mean, from that, in 80s, early 80s, this fundamentalism and radicalization started. And it is not the story of one day. Mm-hmm. This radicalization has been brought since long. And even I'll tell you that in the books of the Afghan schools, they used to be taught that 2 + 2 Kalashnikovs is equal to 4 Kalashnikovs. Mm-hmm. They used to be taught that if there are 20 soldiers of the Swat army and you kill 10, how many will be remaining? Mm-hmm. So these were the questions of addition and subtraction. So if you radicalize a generation and you jihadize them for your own West interests, and when states are involved, so this is the end. Mm-hmm. That in the peaceful citizens of that land like us, they lose the right to live over there. Mm. So this is a long story.
It is. Malala, do you mind if I ask, you say freely in the book that you were afraid. There were days that you would lock the doors at night after everyone else had gone to bed. I don't know if anyone else kind of knew that this is what you were doing until the book came out. I wanted to ask, though, how did you keep going? What made you keep going? You know, they say that courage is not the absence of fear. It's what you do when you are afraid. But how did you sustain yourself?
I think when there is darkness and when it's night, we all are afraid at that time. But when we sleep, we wait for the morning and we are hopeful that we will see the light of the day when we will open our eyes. So I was always hopeful. And I was worried as well because I knew that the Taliban can come to our house. They can do anything. I used to lock the doors. I used to see everything in our house. Then I used to say Ayatul Kursi, that's the verse from Quran, 3 times to protect our house. But then I say, if I only protect my house, what about the street? What about the school building? So then I used to add 2 more verses. And then I used to say, like, what about the Pakistan? What about the world? And then I used to say it more and more and more. So then I used to protect the whole world from any attack or from any bomb blast. So I did what I could do, and I was worried about my father at that time, but I was hopeful. And still, I think that it was my responsibility to speak up for my rights and to speak up for the rights of every girl, and it is still my responsibility to speak up for the rights of every child.
Do you think you're making a difference?
When I look at the response of people, when I look at the love and the support of people, then I think that we are going to make a great change. First, no one could raise the banner that we are against the Taliban. No one could say that shame on you, the Taliban. But now people can. They are only known by the terrorists. Now people call them the Taliban. So it's a great example that now people dare to speak. They are not afraid of the terrorists. And I'm hopeful that a day will come that we will see every child to go to school. Most of the time I'm related to the Taliban, but I want education. And when I talk about education, not only Talibanization, not only terrorism is a hurdle between the way of education, but there are many issues as well that we must keep in mind. That is poverty. Children are suffering from child labor. They have to earn for their family. They are suffering from child trafficking. They are being used for earning money by some people, by some robbers. There are cultural norms and traditions that stop children from going to their school. In our society, I'm proud to be a Pashtun because we are famous for our hospitality. We are famous for our bravery. We are famous for our courage. But still, there are some norms in our culture that does not give equal rights to girls. So there are many difficulties for children to go to school, not only terrorism. So I think we must fight all these issues, and the best way to fight these issues is educate those children.
Forgive me for making a joke, but speaking of child labor, you're working very hard these days. I mean, I understand they have you going from like pillar to post and from place to place. You've been on quite a tour. Are you having any fun at all?
It's a very nice question. Well, I miss those days, but
Dad?
No, Dad is fine. Dad is quite good. The first thing is that outside of my home, I look like a very obedient, a very serious, a very good kind of girl. But nobody knows what happens inside the house. So, inside the house, I was quite, well, it does not mean that I was naughty. My brothers used to fight with me, and then I had to give them a response.
Well, so of course. I mean, of course.
Yes, so that's like, I have some rights to justify myself now. And so that's why, like it's good to fight with your brothers, and it's good to teach them, to give them advices. And my little brother, he's 9 years old, and I fight with him because I'm thinking about his future.
Okay.
He wants iPad, he wants iPod, so he wants to play games, and I think that is not good for his future. And in response, he cries and he shouts to me and he says, "You can forgive the Taliban, but you are not forgiving me." So that's what is happening in our house. Already we are busy.
So he's not sorry you're on a book tour now. He's got your iPad. That's when we know.
They don't even ask about me. Not at all. I think it's the 5th or 6th day that I'm here in America, and they didn't ask about me.
That's because they've got your iPad.
And
what was your favorite subject?
About your fame, what did he say to you? Why are you so famous, he said?
Oh, like they also don't know what I do, why do I go outside. So we both were sitting on a table and we were having breakfast. So he said, "Malala." I said, "Yes." "I can't understand why people are giving you prizes."
What did you say?
I couldn't answer. I said, "Well, I'll make you understand later." Because he said, "I cannot understand. Everywhere you go, people say like, this is Malala, and they give you an award. What have you done?" So he still needs to understand.
You're just my annoying sister who won't give me my iPad. Yeah. Well, I understand that there's a bit of a friendly competition between you two about who is to be prime minister and who is to be the secretary. Who's winning that one?
My brother in the middle, both of my brothers are younger than me. So my brother in the middle, he doesn't speak a lot. He just plays on Xbox. That's his job. I think I know that it's not for like under 18 the games he play, but as far as here. And the little brother, he is like I hope there's no lawyer here. So he's like a lawyer.
Let me tell you. Oh, no, there's no lawyers here.
He's like a lawyer.
Only...
Whenever I fight with him, he can just change the style of his talking. He can just change his emotions. And he can just... Like I feel guilty. Was I really harsh upon him? Was I really cruel? And like he just makes me feel that. And so that's why it's really hard to live with them.
What was your favorite subject in school?
My favorite subject is the one in which I'm like weak. I like physics. And I love physics because physics is all about truth. It tells you about the laws, about the principle, and that the whole universe is obeying. And it explains great things, big things, the thing that we cannot even understand in 2-3 letters, like F is equal to MA, W is equal to MT. It's hard to understand. I can't even understand.
You see, all the NPR people are going, what? There's nobody from Science Friday here. They're all going, what is she talking about? What? We're all words people. We're sorry. Just, we'll catch up. We'll catch up. Just keep, yeah. Go ahead. Well,
I like physics.
I thought you were weak in math, though. I thought you were saying that was your worst subject. No? Did I get that wrong?
I'm not that much good in calculations. But still I work hard, and I love English literature, I love English grammar, and I also love all other subjects. I'm also taking interest in history, and so, but physics, I like it, I don't know why.
I understand that you had a friendly competition with the other two girls in your class. Are you worried that they're getting ahead of you now that you're on book tour? Yeah. You were like, was it Maniba, and you were like first, second, and first, second, and third.
She called me when I was in Birmingham, and we used to have she was my rival, and we used to fight a lot. Who will get the top position? Who will get the high marks? And when I called her and we both were talking, I asked her, how are you feeling? You are getting the top position. I'm no more at this school. And she says, now I don't enjoy my competition with anyone. Now I don't enjoy my school. Now I don't enjoy my exams even. And now I'm getting first position, but it does not give me that much. I'm not feeling that much proud that I used to when she beat me. Because when I was in school, I used to get first position in my class. And I thought that I will be getting first position forever. I didn't know that there are many other girls who can defeat me, who can get higher marks than me. And it's a concept that we usually have. We don't think that we need to continue the hard work to remain on that position. And when she came to our school, I said I have beaten all the girls and it doesn't matter. But when she came, she got the top marks, and I got the second position in the class. And at that time, I realized that if you want to be at the same position, then work hard and don't consider that you will always get the top position. And also, be ready for anything.
I think you'd fit in very well here. I think you'd walk by. Who do you admire? So many people here admire you. Who do you admire?
I admire everyone because I think everyone is taking a part in this society in bringing a change. I admire all the teachers because they are teaching students. They are making the future generation. They're building the future. I admire students as well because they are learning, and they're also because we are working today. It seems that it's just a normal life, and today I went to school, I taught students. So, but this is also, it means that you are building future when you are educating those students. So I admire everyone, and especially those people who are thinking about change in society, who are thinking about the rights of girls and the rights of boys as well, and who are thinking about peace in suffering countries like Syria, like Pakistan, like Afghanistan.
Do you want to go back home?
Yes, of course, because how can one forget his home? And I love Pakistan, and I miss Pakistan. And I'm hopeful that I will go back to Pakistan as soon as possible. But I want to go back there. But first I need to empower myself. I need to empower myself with knowledge, with education, and I need to study hard. I need to work hard. And when I would be empowered, when I would be powerful, then I'll go back to Pakistan, inshallah.
Ziauddin. Do you think that might be possible? Do you want to go home too? Do you think you will be able to?
It's a difficult question. I think personally, as she said, she has to learn a lot and she has a long way to go. And for me, I will go back when the situation is a bit normal. These days, I think, quite dangerous for me as well as for her. So we will go back. Love of one's own home, one's own land, I think it's a kind of feeling which comes when you leave your land. It's very difficult. You remember each and everything of your homeland which you leave behind. I miss the shiny faces of my students where I used to go every morning. I used to go from classroom to classroom and see the shining, the brilliant faces of the boys and girls. And I'm less needed in these developed countries. I'm needed in Pakistan. I'm needed in Afghanistan. I'm needed in Swat, where I should contribute to education, to girls' education, to boys' education. And I think that, I believe that one should live for a cause which is greater than him. So my cause is greater than me. Even if I die, I will continue my campaign, but at least I will not put her life at stake. That's clear.
The Taliban say they would still like to kill her. They said even recently this week that they put out another communication saying that they would still like to target her.
I think they just reminded me, remember. The thing is that I have already seen death, and I know that death is supporting me in my cause of education. Death does not want to kill me. And first, before this attack, I might have been a little bit afraid how death would be. Now I'm not, because I have experienced it. So they cannot make me stop to continue my campaign. Now I'm feeling more powerful, more courageous. And when I look at the support of people, then I think they can never stop me. And we will continue our struggle.
I understand that we do have questions from the audience, which I would like to share with you. So I will ask some of the questions from the audience that were sent in. How were these sent in, via email, or how were they sent by Facebook and things of that sort? Sent in different ways. And then I'm going to cut off the questions a few minutes early, just in case you had a closing thought that you wanted to give us, a closing idea, maybe a charge. Maybe you want to give us homework. Maybe there's something we should do to be helpful to you. So we'll do that at the end. So the questions, I have a few. Let's see. I have a question. Do you want me to say the names or no? No? It's okay? Okay. So one question I have is, your work so far has been nothing less than incredible. Your brother would disagree. But what's next for you? Do you plan on continuing to help girls around the world? Are you considering other paths? We look forward to seeing what you become, and we thank you for what you've achieved. What is your dream? I would like to know. What is next for you? You want to go to university, I assume? And
yes.
Yeah.
I'm still in O-levels. The thing is that I simply say I want to work for education, but how? So I want to start it from now. And we have set up Malala Fund. Malala Fund has 3 objectives. The first one is advocacy. We need to ask. We need to ask those responsible leaders, those responsible politicians to work for education and to make it their top priority. We also need to work on the ground. We need to build schools, we need to do teachers training, we need to do seminars to motivate parents, to let their children to go to school. And then we also need to recognize those girls who are raising their voice. So we are going to give them an award, to give them a platform to speak globally. And then, in future, I want to become a politician.
Well, I understand that you started your. I have to read this. You started your vocation early because you said that when it was exam time. Do you want to read that part, or do you want to say that part?
Of course.
Where is it? I'd marked it. I had marked it. Well, you said that you'd start your exams by saying what to your teacher? Do you remember that part? Where you said?
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah,
Okay.
with the Obeidullah practical.
Yeah, one of my teacher, whenever there was like a viva, he used to ask question. I said, "You are the best teacher ever I have seen in my life." That was a great trick. Students learn from it. Praise your teacher when they are having exam, when they are having a test, and they are asking you questions. So it's really effective.
Okay. Good advice. Okay. Another question is, what inner qualities made it possible for you to exhibit such courage and self-confidence?
Sorry.
What inner qualities? I don't know if you feel it's that way, but that's the question. What inner qualities do you think made it possible for you to exhibit such courage?
I think I'm just listening to my heart. And my heart is just listening to people. And I'm looking, because I can see those children who are suffering from child labor. I can see, I can remember the time when we were suffering from terrorism. I can remember those days when it was hard even to sleep, because after 10 minutes we would hear the noise of a bomb blast. I remember that time. So that's why I think heart is really kind to everyone. And that's why it told me to speak.
I think that Malala, this is a big question that during militancy and terrorism, hundreds and thousands of people have been killed. Children have been killed. Even when drone attacks target the terrorists, some children and innocent people are killed there. Why her story is different, sometimes I think. And to be honest, I learn from her when it comes to the purity of heart, when it comes to the purity of intention. And this is the thing which spread all around the world. The purity of her heart, the purity of her faith, the purity of her intention. Because in history, rarely things coincide with time and with people. So, this is my feeling that, and she doesn't do it for fame or for reputation or for big name. One day when she was in hospital, and my friend gave me a clip of video and told me that please you show this video clip to your daughter, she will be very happy. It was by Jew News. Mehboob Ali is there. And the headline of that news was, it was some thinkers forum assessment. And they had the news that Barack Obama was 7 and Malala is on 6th. It was kind of, for me it was kind of joke, but and it was a headline. And when I just showed, and she was still in hospital. And I was, as a father, I wanted to make her more and more happy somehow. So when I showed her the clip that I have good news for you, you just watch it. And when she watched that, I was expecting that she would be excited. I asked her, how do you feel? You are on 6 and the President of America is on 7. She told me, okay, Abba. She calls me Abba. Abba, okay, but I don't like such categorization of human beings. So I learned that this is quite different things. Before this Nobel Peace Prize announcement, her doctor, Dr. Fiona, who has been mentioned in the book, when she was nominated, she came to our home and she was very excited as a doctor of her. And she told her, Malala, do you know, you have been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. You want it? You like it? And she simply said, I need peace. This was her first response. Mm-hmm. And that's why when the news came, she was very composed, very poised.
Mm-hmm. Were you disappointed?
I feel weaker than her believing in so many things.
You were sad, huh?
And I'm happy that she's stronger.
Were you disappointed at the announcement?
The rule that I have in my life to follow is that always be hopeful, but don't have great expectations. And that's why I'm hopeful. That's why I'm hopeful, but I don't have like great expectations. And I was ready. I told myself that, Malala, be ready. Anything can happen. Not only Nobel Peace Prize, anything can happen in your life. People might support you, some people may turn against you. It might become difficult in your life to continue your campaign. You must be ready for it, because life will never be the same. Changes will come in your life. Now you are under 18, that's why many people are supporting you. But tomorrow if you join a party, half of the population would be against you. So that I have prepared myself for that. And being a politician, you must keep it in mind what you say. And other than that, if I talk about winning the Nobel Peace Prize or not winning the Nobel Peace Prize, I think I have won the Nobel Peace Prize. Because when I look at the nomination and the support of people, if you just remove the jury, I have won it. And I'm happy for that.
This is a question which I think could have come from many, many people in this room. And the question is, I work with teenagers. What kinds of positive words can you give them during their struggles with friends, family, and schoolwork?
I think the first thing is that when we are alone, when we are just one person, then our voice does not have that impact. When we are together, when we are united, then we become more powerful. And that's what I have learned. You must work together. You must be kind to each other. You must tolerate each other as well, because sometimes we don't even tolerate each other. We don't tolerate each other's language, each other's culture, each other's religion. So that is really necessary for continuing your mission in your life. That tolerate each other. And respect is also very necessary. Even I respect the Taliban. I cannot use any bad word for them. So respect is really necessary. And I think that these words are really simple in life. Respect, love, friendship, kindness, tolerance, patience. Seems very easy. But it's hard to bring it into your life. So I think if these few words come into your life, then I think your future and then you become successful in your mission.
Is there anything about this country, about England, that's different than you thought it would be?
Well, so many things are different. The first thing is that most of the girls and women are accepted with equal rights. They are free to walk on the roadside. For us, these are equal rights, because we have seen more difficult situation than the situation in UK. Girls can go outside. They have their right to choose. They have their right to make a choice. They have given the same rights as boys have. Other than that, our school is also totally different, the way that we are taught. In our schools are quite good in Pakistan, but children are not taught skills. But in UK, I was also learning about painting, about music, about exercises, about PE, about HE, and that I didn't like. I never liked to go to the kitchen. So that's why I had to learn that as well now in UK. So I think there are many changes in both these societies. And the best thing, and the thing that I like in UK, is that they accept others' people culture and their religion and their traditions. Now I'm wearing shalwar kameez in UK, and they have accepted it. And I have accepted their way of wearing dresses, their way of speaking, their way of having communication. And that's what we need in our countries and in our society. It is the acceptance of each other's traditions, each other's religion, each other's culture. So I think that is very necessary.
Speaking of religion, one person wanted to know how you feel about your religion and how people use it as an excuse for conflict and violence.
That's a very good question, because whenever... It's really sad to say that whenever a Muslim person does a crime or do a bomb blast, on media you can hear they say like a Muslim terrorist. But when a person who is not Muslim, when he does it, then they said only terrorist. And the example is Oklahoma, because nobody mentioned the religion, but now people are saying Muslim terrorists. So the thing is that Islam is a religion of peace, is a religion of humanity, is a religion of brotherhood. The Taliban only know about jihad and about just fighting. I think they haven't read the Quran yet. They haven't studied it yet.
You're right. I agree.
You know, it's interesting because I think sometimes people on our side of the world aren't sure how they're supposed to feel about the Taliban, in that they hate what they do, but sometimes they feel that they are part of the culture, say, almost like a political party with very extreme views, and they're not sure if they're allowed to have an opinion about it. Do you see my question? It's almost as if they feel that, well, this is the culture. It's not our business. Can you speak to that?
I beg your pardon, please. What is the question?
The question is that I think there are some people who aren't sure if they're allowed to criticize the Taliban, if they're allowed to feel that it's wrong. Does that make sense? Because they feel that, well, maybe we don't agree, but if it's part of the culture, then who are we to have opinions about it?
I understand,
Do you understand?
but I would like to tell everyone that the Taliban, they are Pashtuns, they are Muslims. Some of them are Pakistani, some of them are from Afghanistan. But it does not mean that all Muslims are terrorists. It does not mean that all Pakistani are terrorists. It does not mean that all Pashtuns are terrorists. It's true that the terrorists might be Muslims, but it's not true that Muslims are terrorists. So you must keep it in mind. And when it comes to traditions, I think we don't consider them to be a part of our culture. Because in our culture, in Pashtun culture, you must respect women. You must respect her. And the Taliban doesn't do it. And not only Taliban, these are different groups. You only know the name of the Taliban. You must call them terrorist groups. Because you only know about one word, but there are many other groups as well. So if they were Muslims, they would have kept in mind the hadith of Prophet, peace be upon him, that it's the duty of every Muslim, every person, whether man or woman, to get knowledge, to get education. And they have forgotten it. They don't know it. So I think, and I want to tell everyone, that these people are not what we are. They just want their own ideas, they want their own demands. And I think if Taliban or if any other terrorist group wants to rule over the country, then we have a way of democracy. Stand for election. Show us what do you want, what are your objectives. If we people like it, if the common people like it, if public like it, then they will vote you if you deserve it. So I think the decision must be made by people, and we must remind the Taliban and every other terrorist group that in Islam we are taught that you must listen to everyone in your society, and you must not divide your society on the basis of religion. And I think simply to say that these terrorists need to study Quran and Hadith, and they need to study about Islam, and they need to sit again and go to madrasa or a school. School is necessary. They must go to a school and they must learn about Islam.
Ziauddin, do you have hope that groups like the Taliban can be brought into dialogue with people, that they will be persuaded that education, that democracy is the way to advance their ideas, or to advance ideas? Do you have hope that their reign of terror will end?
Yes, I have hope. This is very political kind of question. Mm-hmm. And to speak honestly, mm-hmm. To tame Taliban or to bring them to justice, it needs a political will. And it needs clarity of the policy. Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel that in my part of the world, in our region, terrorism, Talibanization has become the part of the regional and global politics. This issue could be resolved very easily if the states in that region, and the most powerful state where we are now, if they decide that we have to resolve this issue and we will not seek interest under the hide of this issue. You might have heard about the good Taliban and bad Taliban. Do you know good Taliban and bad Taliban?
No, we want to hear more about this.
Oh, this is very interesting.
Is that like good cholesterol and bad cholesterol? Is it kind of like that?
The Taliban who are killing people in Afghanistan, for many people in Pakistan, they are good Taliban. And the Taliban who are killing people in Pakistan, in Pukhtunkhwa, they may be very good Taliban for some of people in your establishment and in Afghanistan. So this is very difficult situation. And this is very horrible. And whatever is done, it is to keep them and maintain it there for the political reasons, for the political West interest, for the strategic reasons. And I request these world powers, regional powers, that you have had enough politics for the manipulation of, to plunder the resources of each other, to have strategic hegemonies in each other's regions. Now let's do politics for people. Now let's do politics for clean water. Now let's do politics for food. Now let's do politics for health and education. So if they decide, believe me, this will be resolved in a month. The problem lies with the political leadership. And I will not blame any one country. Everybody is thief in his heart. And the view which is shaped here in the West, that is, I respect media, but that is made by media. And which is shaped in the East, in Pakistan, that is also shaped by the media. We came here to this country, this is my fourth time. Believe me, the love of these American people is a great nation. It's a great nation. The love of the people for us, when I see in the eyes of the people, I think this should be the most lovable nation on the earth. Then why my people hate them? For example, these are our political things. And I request to this forum, these are very bright people here, teachers, students, opinion leaders, that we must put pressure on our governments. I should put pressure on my government, on my state. You should put pressure on your state. That why a huge amount of the taxpayers is spent on arms and munitions. Why? And that was what she said. I will quote my daughter. She should quote me, by the way, but I will quote her.
Well,
that send pins not guns. Send books, not tanks. And the most beautiful thing, send teachers, not soldiers. Thank you.
Well, that is where we had hoped to end. I was going to ask if you each had some closing thoughts that you would leave us with. If you had, Ziauddin, you actually started us off. I wanted to ask if you have any assignment for us. Is there something you would wish us to do?
I am very thankful, and I greatly appreciate the quietness of the Quakers. I mean, it has its own voice. I love it. Please.
Malala, do you have a final thought for us? And thank you again, let me say, on behalf of all of us here, on behalf of this fine institution, on behalf of all of our guests, on behalf of Politics and Prose, all of your friends, and they are all your friends here. Thank you so much for coming. Do you have a final thought for us?
Thanks to all of you, because you are sitting here, you are listening to me, and you are also listening to the cause of education, and that is really important for me, because I speak for education of every child in every corner of the world. And the thing that I noticed here when I came to UK for the second time, I think 2-3 weeks ago.
To America.
To America. What did I say?
UK.
Sorry. Sorry. When I came here to America, and there was, in our meetings, we had, in our schedule, we had written that Malala would go to a school. And that school is just few kilometers away from those tall buildings of New York. And when I went there, and when girls told me their stories, and how hard it is for them to get education, even in New York, even in America, because of poverty, because of the concepts of the family, because of the hardship they face. So I think we also need to work here as well. But good thing about this country is that they have provided schools to every student. Now we need to motivate children. Now we need to motivate all the girls. And in countries like Syria, like Egypt, like Nigeria and Afghanistan, there we need to start from building up schools and trying to motivate the parents, try to help the teachers, and we need to work from every aspect if you want a bright future. So I think it's really hard to say it through words, but it feels very easy when I say, let's work. But I think let's do it. Let's really do it.
Malala. You both had a very long day. You have a very long day tomorrow. I understand you had some nice visits with maybe some nice people today that some people here know rather well. But I'm sure you're very tired. We want to thank you very much, so very much, for what you've done, for what you will do. Thank you both so much. Ziauddin, Malala Yousafzai.
Book TV is on